Well, g'day, folks. It's me. It's Greg. It's Friday. We're doing Friday Lunch and Learn. We're talking about data platforms. There was also an awful lot that happened at OpenAI this week. I'm not sure I'm going to spend too much time talking about that. I don't feel like I can add to the conversation very much. If you want to know what happened at OpenAI, just have a look on Twitter. It was crazy. They had a CEO got fired, and then they didn't get fired, and then they did get fired, and then they went to Microsoft, and then they left Microsoft, and now they're back at OpenAI. I don't know what's going on. ChatGPT was looking extremely dodgy yesterday, and everyone was freaking out. Maybe that was the end, but it's back, and so it seems to be fine today. So fingers crossed. And then, did they invent an AGI, and are we all going to be slaves to to QStar? No one knows. Very interesting week though in the world of AI. But I want to focus on our data platform this week. So we are building for Jordan. For those of you that haven't joined us in the previous sessions or you can't remember, quick recap. We did a bunch of chat GPTing and we invented a person called Jordan. Jordan is a BI professional and they're interested in reporting on their project status up. So here's our data model. They want project status updates, project task updates. What do I do there? Project milestones updates, and then we've got some dimensions: status, date, client, project milestone, task, and project. And this is for one particular set of questions that they've got around project progress and milestones. And we came up with a few other different metrics, as you can see here. So we've got project management. This is our project process and milestones. Then we've got data quality, client interactions, performance analytics, learning and development tracking. So we start with the person, Jordan, and then we're going to build for Jordan. And then so we're going to continue on with our build. So where we got up to was we created a Fabric workspace called Friday Data Platform, and we created a lakehouse. And inside that lakehouse, we did some syncing with one lake. Here's one lake coming onto the screen now. Okay, so I've got my one lake here synced to my PC, and then on my Friday Lakehouse, I've got some files and I'm dumping some files. So last time you saw it, I just had this one project management.xlsx file. So we're using Microsoft Project, which is turning into Planner Premium. I don't know what is going on with Project, but that was an announcement at Ignite that they've now changed Microsoft Project Online to Planner Premium. So everything's turning into Microsoft Planner now. I just wish they'd stop renaming things. And why would you rename Microsoft Project? Everybody knows Microsoft Project. But anyway, I guess Planner is better. I added a folder. I've added a new folder with the current date, and I've created 3 projects instead of one. Okay, so our friend Jordan working on a commercial construction project number 1, and a software development project. And I've just used the templates from Microsoft Project to get this stuff out. I've done this. If you remember, our original plan was we're doing a manual process effectively first, right? So this is a manual file drop from Jordan, from the project people. Project people are going to extract each project each week or whatever. They're going to create a new folder for each week or whenever they drop it, and they're going to drop it into our one lake files area for our lakehouse. Our job now is to figure out how do we get this data from these Excel files into something that we can use, preferably a Delta table that we can do some analysis on. And then we're going to build our data model. There it is. And then when we have a data model, we can build some reports. And then when we have a data model and some reports, then we're going to build a chat GPT that reads it all and gives us the answer. I don't know if we're going to do that, but I hope we can. Man, that would be sweet. All right. That's the plan. Let's see how far we get today. So a couple of things. Normally, like with a lake house situation, and I've got some files in a folder, I'd want to use, probably want to use Python to pull this data out, right, and do some transformation. These are Excel files. Excel and Python it's not impossible. It's just more complicated. And we've got data flows, which read Excel files natively. So I'm going to use data flows because why wouldn't you? The downside of using data flows is that I'd say data flow processing is not going to be as powerful. So if this is a lot of Excel files, then you might want to move to the more complicated, probably more powerful Python approach. in which case you would open a notebook and then you would start creating Python notebook to ingest it all. We've also got this folder structure. So we've got a few things to deal with, right? So every week they're going to create a new folder and then put the latest version of the project in that folder structure. That means we can potentially do how have projects changed over time type reporting, which is interesting, but I don't think we're going to do that in this case. I think I'm just going to pull the latest folder here. So we'll have a think about how we might do that as well. All right, that's the plan. I'm here in the folder, but I'm just going to say get data. I'm going to create a new data flow Gen 2 because we're going to use data flows. Shelley says everyone organizes plans, but not everyone organizes projects. Good point. It'll be interesting to see even if these project structures come through the same way. I just literally used the default templates and then just extracted the Excels. Hopefully the data structure is the same, right? So that's something we're going to face any second now. Okay, so you would be tempted to say, well, I've created a data flow. Why don't I just import from Excel because it's an Excel file, right? But we're not going to do that because we want to bring in multiple Excel files. And then you say, oh, I know what to do. I'm going to go and get it from a folder. That's how you get stuff from a multiple. And you go, no, that's not right either, because we're getting it from a Gen 2, ADLS Gen 2 source, which is OneLake, right? We're getting it from an Azure Data Lake Gen 2 source. So we can't use folder and we can't use Excel. We have to use something else. And so that will have to be our ADLS Gen 2 connector. So let's, I'm going to go here. I'm going to click on the, let me get my Zoom happening because I love Zoom. It's my favorite presentation tool. Control Alt Z is my Zoom. Let's test. Zoom, looks good. Okay. So I'm going to click the new button over here. There it is. It's going to give me all of my data flow connectors. And the one I'm looking for is my Azure Data Lake Gen 2 connector, which is this one here. Or I could go here and filter to Azure, and then it gives me fewer things, and then it's over here. So these are all my Azure stuff. So to connect to OneLake, we need to use the Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2 connector in data flows. There is no OneLake connector, which, to be honest, is surprising to me. I'm surprised they don't have just a native connector for it, even though it probably just uses the same tech. But yeah, no OneLake. So there you go. If you're connecting to OneLake using data flows, make sure you use your Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2. Now, what do we put in the URL is the second question. So to get the URL for our OneLake, we actually have to visit the OneLake. So what I'm going to do is open another instance of Power BI because I want to keep that one up and running. So let me just get to the right spot. Friday Data Platform. Okay, here we are in my Friday Data Platform. And so here under my Friday Lakehouse, I'll click on that. So this is my OneLake Lakehouse. In my Explorer view on the left-hand side. Now, depending where I want to go, if I wanted to go directly to this 2023-24 folder, I could click here and I could go properties. And then over here on the right, you see we get URLs. This is for OneLake URL, and then this is an ABFS path. So you can use the ABFS path in like Python and stuff if you want to. For this particular scenario, we're going to use the URL. Okay, so we copy the URL. Now, I don't want to just do this because I want to put some logic in case I create a new folder. I want to always get the latest folder. So I'm actually going to go to the files area, just the root folder here. So go to files, go to properties, copy the path from here. You can click the little copy guy, this guy here, and it'll copy the path for you. And then back to our thing, and we pop this in the URL at the top here. Now it's already created, it's already got a connection here, right? Because I have already connected to this today, but I'll create a new connection. This is how it'll look for you if you're connecting the first time. If you're not logged in, it'll ask you to log in here. That'll just be your Microsoft Office 365 or Microsoft 365. What do they call it now? Entra ID. You use your Entra ID to log in, which is your Microsoft AD account. You don't need a gateway because we're connecting to a Azure storage, so it's as cloud storage, so no gateway required. And then when we connect for the first time, it will create a new connection and it'll give it the name, the URL, this URL that we're connecting to. So that's what happens. I'm going to use this connection because I don't want to clog up my account with multiple connections all called the same thing. So I'm just going to use my connection that's already connected. Okay, hit next. Connecting to data source. This is taking longer than expected. That was interesting. Okay, so we get a preview here, good old Power Query style preview, looks great. You could hit the combine button here. I've never done that in my life. I would always hit transform, which is the create button in this case. So we're going to hit create. So then we get this folder view. So this is exactly as if we connected kind of to a folder, except now we're connecting or to a SharePoint content. This is very similar to connecting to like SharePoint content, same sort of idea. We've got the option to combine all of these binaries here with our double down arrow combine button. But what we're going to do first is filter out the folder that is the most recent. Funnily enough, I reckon we could do this with sorting, right? Because we can just sort. This is a sortable. One of the benefits of this structure that I've used is the reverse date order, is that it should be sortable. So if I sort this to descending, say, then does it give me? Yeah, it is sortable. The only problem is there's 3 files here, and I'd probably only want to bring in the top one. You want the most recent? I might have to think about this. Okay, how do I get the most recent in Power Query? I'd have to convert this to a date and then get the top one date. I could use the date modified, but I'm not sure I really want to do that because the date modified might be different. Would it be different though? These are only a few seconds apart. If I wanted to be absolutely sure, I would use this folder here. Let's do that. So I'm going to split this folder off. So I'm going to add a new column. I'm going to extract the last 9 characters here. I'm happy that that will always be the same. Assuming we always use this naming convention, that will always be the same. There's probably a better way to do this, let's face it, but you get the idea. Okay, extracted the last 9 characters. I'm going to remove the slash at the end by just doing a replace values. So I'm replacing the slash with nothing. Okay, I'm going to convert it to a date. Is that going to work? It is going to work. And now the last thing I need to do is do an advanced filter, right? Because I need to filter for the most recent day in this list. Ooh, anyone know how to do that really quick? Top one day. I don't think it's as easy as just being like, let's look at date filters. Is latest. Oh, that's what we want. Let's look at is latest because that's an interesting. So, I don't know if you can read this. Table.select rows. Let latest equals the list.max of the last characters. The last characters is the name of the folder, the name of the column, sorry. So list.max in each equals latest. Equals latest. Oh, where okay, yeah. Okay, it finds, I see what it's doing. It finds the max value of the column and then filters it to where that equals the max value. So it creates this variable called latest to get the max value and then filter each of the last characters where they equal latest. Cool. That's a good line of code to be able to do that. How handy that was in the menu items. I would have taken me ages to figure out how to do that. So happy. Well, there's a bit of governance talk happening in the chat. We'll have to talk governance. All right. So now theoretically, these Excel files all have the same. I don't know if it's going to show us here, is it? all have the same structure. They're all Excel files that have been extracted from Microsoft Project. So they all should have the same structure. So I'm just going to hit the combine button. And then we're going to do some tricky combining because the file structure isn't entirely straightforward. So we're using the first file as our example file, which is great. We have a look at project tasks and we see our file structure. So the thing that makes this file structure tricky is that we've got this bit at the top, which is just information about the project. And then the table starts here, right? And then it goes down from there. So we need, and remember we're combining multiple files. So we need to first transform it to get all that information out because this is metadata I actually want to keep. And then I want to have my project data afterwards. Okay, so we have to think about that. Automatic transformations. So this is where this transformation, these helper queries that it creates during transformation, it didn't used to do this many moons ago, a few years ago. It would just do the combine and it wouldn't give you the option necessarily to set up your sample file and your transform file, and we'll talk about what they are in a sec. But now it does this. I think this is much better, but I think it's confusing. If you're new to Power Query, then this is intimidating, right? Because you like, oh my God, I just asked it to combine a bunch of files and now I've got this whole extra folder and I've got a sample file and I've got a parameter and I've got another file, which is a function. And I don't even know what's happening here. But this is better. It's much better this way. Trust me, trust me. All right, so what we need to do, these helper queries, what they do is that it first gives you the option to transform the file before it combines the file. Okay, and that's what the transform file function does. So first it looks at the sample file transformations, and then any transformation we do on the sample file will be then carried forward and happen before we do the combine. So that's kind of the idea anyway. So let's have a look at what we get here. We get a sample file, which is just literally a link to a binary. We get, and it's got some sorted, inserted, filtered, navigation type stuff. Then we've got a parameter, which is literally just called sample file. So the parameter points to that sample file. And then this function uses that parameter to actually do the transformation at the end. And then the query just calls the function. So this is our final combined query. And it does all that stuff using our transform sample file. So you can see it's got this transform file, sample file business going on here. So it uses transform file here, which is the name of this function here. So it calls this function on sample file, which is this parameter to do the transformation. Okay, so we want to do some transformations first because you can see it's not quite right. We've got a sheet, we've got some data in the sheet. Let's expand it out. So let's just do for the first query, let's just expand this out, like remove these top rows because we only want these ones. Why does it not like me? Because I put a destination and then another destination. Is that what happened there? Do I need to delete this? That's better. Okay. That was weird. It came in on, anyway, I won't think about it too much. Right, home, remove rows, remove top rows. So I'm going to remove the top 8 rows. Don't want them right now. If I want to get that metadata, I'm going to have to bring it back in again. I probably could get fancy with my sample file transformation and pull that metadata out first and add it as columns or something. I won't worry about it for now. And then I'm going to promote the headers. So this is, if you've done dashboard in a day or whatever, you'll have seen this before. Is there anyone who's like brand new to Power Query in the chat? Just let me know. I just want to know how slowly or fast to go through this process. Okay, so I've transformed my sample file to be the table that I want with the correct columns and all the rest of it. Okay, and so hopefully then our query will, if we refresh, probably be broken because of change column type. So we'll get rid of the change column type. So now you can see my query after I just removed that change column type step, but now my query has the correct things. Now, the other thing my query will also have is this will be all three of those files combined together. So I guess we'll, the column risk of the table wasn't found. So here, this is interesting. So I'm wondering, let's have a look and see if it breaks. If the structures are slightly different. If they are, then I'm in trouble. Right, I'm publishing that data flow to see what it looks like in the end. Data flow staging lakehouse. It always creates all these artifacts. I've got to make sure I understand each one of them. Okay, so we've got a semantic model for the lakehouse, a semantic model for the warehouse, a semantic model for the Friday data platform lakehouse. So these are all data sets, right? That's the new name for data set, semantic model. So these are direct lake data sets for each one of our artifacts. I really kind of wish.
There's a funny thing with those staging data flow things. You can actually turn them off, but sometimes they keep coming back. It's one of the parameters in the data flow. You can actually turn off the staging. And
really?
then you can get those artifacts to be removed. Yeah.
Yeah, because these are the data flow staging artifacts that get created when I create a data flow. And then it creates a semantic model for each one of them. Oh yeah, I really don't like that happens. It shouldn't create a lakehouse and a warehouse. It should create one. It should just create a lakehouse, right? I mean, why is it creating a warehouse here? That seems ridiculous. Anyway, last refresh failed. I'm tipping that the structures are different. Data format couldn't convert to number. Oh, it's not happy about the number. Okay, so the auto, there'll be a change type in there that isn't great. You can see how this is a relatively awkward kind of process, right? When you're editing data flows, it's really hard to kind of see what's going on. I would recommend that you do this in Power BI first, using exactly the same process, and then copy and paste your query into data flow. I just find that so much easier, and we might even do that if we keep running into issues. Let's have a look at our data structures. I think they're different, but it also maybe tried to convert something to a number that isn't a number. Well, it hasn't converted anything to a number. Have I got a change type here? Yeah, here. I'll get rid of this change column type. Seems unnecessary. There's one in my sample as well. Outline number, task number is a number. Percent complete is a number. That's the other one that it might be. You know what? I don't think we need this because it doesn't bring the types through here anyway. Right, when I get to here, they're still all in ABC 1, 2, 3 mode. I'm gonna just make them all text for now. Then we'll figure it out later. Cool. So I'll show you this process in Power BI while we're mucking around. Waiting for data flows. Get data. Well, I wonder if I still have my one lake in here. So same process, ADLS Gen 2. I just type Gen 2 when it finds it. URL is that same one lake URL, which was still in my thing there. So I could just paste it in, which is nice. Just to files. We want the file system view. CD and folder view might. Wonder if that will be better. CD and folder view is pretty good. I'm going to connect using my organizational account. I have to sign in. Oh, it's probably going to ask me for two-factor authentication because, oh no, it didn't. That's good. Must be already signed in. Wind connected to Windows. All right, so we're in the same spot. I'm going to hit transform data. And I'll show you the process is just quicker, I guess, when you use Power Query, as opposed to data flows, which I guess is Power Query, but you know what I mean. Okay, it got published, but it hasn't refreshed yet. That's where it's up to. Okay, so I'll do the same thing. I'll extract the folder path. That was an add column, extract, last characters, 9 characters. Well, that was fast. And then remove the, that was a change values, wasn't it? Place values, sorry, replace values. Replace slash with nothing, convert it to date, and then filter it so that it's the latest, use latest. So that'll give me the latest folder every time. And then I wonder if I should, no, I'm going to do the same. And then combine. Use project tasks, that looks good. Look at my sample file, remove the top rows. Oh, it's in home, remove rows, top rows, top 8. Top 8? Is that right? No, it was top 7 this time. Wait, why is it top, what? Why is it different? Is it a different sample file? Is this what I'm going to run into, this sample file being different? Okay, and use first row as headers. And remove the change type. And look at the query and remove the change type. Okay, close and apply. Let's see what happens in Power BI Desktop. Oh, did it refresh? It looked like it refreshed. Succeeded, hooray. Okay, so it was just a type error. That means we should be able to look at our data flow. Oh, this is just going to edit the data flow, isn't it? Oh, I forgot to set the output because you have to set a data destination down here. Oh, I'd already put it. Maybe I didn't. Okay, so this little secret thing, this is different in Fabric compared to, so Fabric ADLS Gen 2 data flows have this new data destination folder. So now your data flow can run and then put your data back into your lakehouse, into your as a Delta table.
And a note with these Gen 2 ones, you won't actually be able to connect to the data in that data flow unless you put a destination. Unlike current ones where you can just kind of create the data flow and then you can connect to the data flow as a data source, You can't do that with the Gen 2 flows.
Really? I was about to try and do that, so I'm glad you told me that. So I can't connect directly to this data flow. I have to connect to the data via the lakehouse. Is that
Last
right?
time I checked, I could be completely wrong, but that's...
Oh, let's try it and see.
Last time when I was trying to load, it was just giving me... You could connect to the data flow, but it'd have 0 data in it.
Yeah, okay, interesting. So I'm using the data flow connector here. Looking at my workspace, looking at my Friday data platform, data flow 1, which I guess is this data flow. Now I have set as a, yeah, okay, let's see if it gives me data.
It's going to prove me wrong now. Watch.
I'm sorry, mate.
But
I apologize if it does. Yeah.
Putting it as a destination, the advantage there is that you can drop it in as Delta files straight into your lakehouse. So you can use the direct lake experience straight on that data that comes out of the data flow.
It's heaps better if you look, oh no, it has got data in it. Sorry, mate, you're wrong. I don't know what.
Load it.
Okay. Should I just straight load? I'm going to straight load it. Query evaluating. All right, let it evaluate for a while. Let's have a look back at our data flow. So it said it refreshed okay. Let's have a look at it in the lakehouse. Oh, I've got to close. Do I need to publish anything? No, because I was going to change the data destination, but I'll just go publish, I guess. Didn't need to change the data destination. So we have a staging lakehouse, and then we have the actual lakehouse. This staging lakehouse, what's in it? Is this got the data flow in it as well? I'm confused. Let's have a look. Oh, okay. Why can't I navigate to explore this data? Oh, Data Explorer. Is this the new? This is the new thing, isn't it? Data Explorer, where you can.
It's pretty cool.
Like inside a light box. Yeah, I remember complaining about it last week.
Well, it's better than the current strategy of, when you've got a report in your workspace and you have to go into it, you hit edit, you go to a blank page, you start pulling stuff into tables.
That's true. Yeah,
now you don't need to do that.
No, you don't
can
need to
just
do that.
pull them straight in here.
That is cool. It's taking a while to load the data. I don't like this staging lakehouse. I'm not even going to look at it. I'm going to try and ignore that it's there because it's just for staging. I want to look at my actual lakehouse. This is where my stuff is, right? We have tables, unidentified table. Here it is.
Yeah, so I put a couple of screenshots of where you can turn off the enable staging thing within the data flow properties.
Already promoted headers, yeah. Oh, sorry, I was just reading the chats. Here's my data. That's been assigned to Greg Nash. Interestingly, I don't have anything that identifies the project because I didn't actually bring any project metadata and I didn't add a column for which file it came in on, which you might want to do because I have no way to identify which projects things are associated with, right? It doesn't look broken. 349 rows. Okay. So how many rows are in commercial construction? $153. Okay, so yeah, I can believe there'll be 349 rows then, because this is probably the longest project. Cool. Okay, that worked. I've got some work to do on my query, but I can see the query in the lakehouse. It's sitting in a nice Delta table. I'm happy with that so far. All right, cool. Back to Power BI. What's Power BI up to? Do I have data? Looks like it. Yep. Data in both. There you go. You can connect to the data flow directly. That's good. I would expect you should be able to. So if it wasn't
I
working
don't
at
know
some
what I
point,
was
then
doing. Yeah.
So what I was talking about before, where it's easier to do it in Power BI, is that at this, let's say we'll fix our query actually in a sec, because I want to turn it into a star schema. So I'll do this in Power BI, but then you just copy your query and then create a new data flow and paste it all in, and it'll do all the same stuff. You hit copy here and then you Control V to paste. And if you've got multiple queries here, you select them all at once, because otherwise you get duplicates and it's horrible. But yeah, I'll show you how to transfer Power Query to data flow in a sec. All right, so let's fix our query, which is the one that just goes, this is the one that just goes to the data flow. So I'm going to delete it. We don't need that anymore. We've got a few things to fix. We need to add in our source here. Do we have the project name in here? No, we don't even have it even. Oh, it's here, commercial construction. Oof. Oh, there we go. The promoted headers here. I think we can get rid of this promoted headers. Now I've got remove top rows 8 because that was wrong. Okay, now I'm with it. And then now we're good. Okay. That's interesting how the behavior was just ever so slightly different in Power Query than it was to data flow. So the name of the project is here, commercial construction. So I need to pull this name out and add it as a column to my final thing here. Ugh. Can I do this in a simple way, or should I just come up with a less complex way of doing things? Like in my query, this function's going to give me the values of all of this stuff. Instead, should so what they do in CSV files is they keep the name and the content, and then what's it done? Oh, it's removed the other columns. Yeah, I can just keep the column. Yeah, see, now I've got the name of the project. And then when I expand it, got to give it a different name. Rename. And then I'll get rid of the XLSX. Now this only works if the file name is the name of the project. But in my case it is, so yeah. So I'm happy with that. And so now it expands out to be the project name on every row, so I can see which project's for. Pretty nifty, huh? All right, and let's rename this query. We want this to be projects. I might call this SRC projects because I'm going to probably use it for other things. And then I'm going to disable the load, and then I'm going to reference it. Oh, not rename it, reference it. Then I'll call this projects. And then I'm going to reference it again. Now, remember our data model? Looks like this. So we've got project things, and then we've got statuses, task, project, employee, milestone, client. Okay. So this is going to be project. Just project, not projects. We could call this dim project if you prefer that naming convention. And you could call this fact projects if you wanted to as well. It's up to you how you kind of do things. But okay, so our dim project is only going to have this column, and we're going to remove all the duplicates. And there's dim project. And then maybe we'll create, just to be fancy, we'll add an index. How do I add an index? Add column, index column. We should start from 1, not 0. That's this parameter here. Okay, project ID. And then we've got fact projects. That still needs a bit of work. What was the rest of the model? We're going to have task, status, date, client, project milestone, and employee. I'm pretty sure we've got employee in here. It's assigned to. Blank and Greg Nash. We'll remove the blank because Power BI will take care of the blanks for us. So we just filter it out or remove empty and then rename to employee. It's going to be really weird. Oh, did I just do that to fact projects? I did. I'm an idiot. Duplicate. And then delete all of this stuff. Okay, this is dim employee. What else do I have in here? Got task, number, and name. This is at the task level with an outline number. So I could put all these into a task dim. Start and finish. Oh, look, it didn't like my dates. Okay, I've got to fix that. Why did it give me Excel date? Oh, because it's Excel. Ugh. That's why it gave me Excel dates. All right. Oh, there's a dependency tree. Oh, man. Do we even want to mess with that? Probably not. These are project task updates. Sprints in the backlog. Priority is medium. What are the difference? Maybe we can, so we could dimensionalize, because this is a fact table. I really want to dimensionalize it as much as possible. So let me get rid of at least these tasks. I'm just trying to think how I would like to do this. I might even make it so that it brings all the data in, but I'll think about that later. Because everything else is task related. So there's no date grain for the fact. So if I brought in, if I didn't do this filter back here where I only get the latest, then my grain would increase. I would have project task updates over time for each project, which means fact projects would then have a dimension of time or an attribute of time or date going over it. But the fact that it doesn't make this just the same as dim task, right? The granularity is just task. What I could do, maybe I'll do it this way. So I will create a dim task. I'll just duplicate this guy. Dim task. And then my projects, because they start and finish on a particular date, I could have that so that there's task updates over time during the start, between the start and date, end date as well. Anyway, we'll think about that later. Is there stuff I want to take out of here? Just put into dim task. Because I think then fat project just becomes project name, tasks number. % complete. Yeah, because you've got a % complete here, it's good. That means, yeah, we could do updates over time on how much percentage was completed at a particular time. Okay. You think about that. Effort completed, effort remaining. Sprint goal. That's all task related stuff. So if I remove the other columns, that has to be the so I have to keep a few dimensions. I have to keep my project name and my assigned to, because they've got foreign keys associated with them, or they will. Not regular name. Sorry, what was project name? It was just called project name, wasn't it? Okay, that's there. Assign 2% complete, effort remaining. Okay, so here's my task update. So this is in line with my project task updates fact here. We've also got status updates, which I've got as a separate fact. Do I want to keep it as a separate fact? I think I do. So I've referenced this one more time. I could go project name. So it's a different grain because we only want to know the status update of a project. Assign to. We don't need task level. We do want the sum of the effort remaining. We'll do the sum of these guys. Actually, no, because that's in, no, we'll keep it. Which sprint, and then there was these percent completed, number of completed checklist items. So where's the project status? Doesn't have the status. I have to get status from somewhere else. Oh, was it in the transform file? So this is like your project status update here. Duration 344 days, percent complete 0, exported on this, project start date, project. So this is all like, you could just do that at project level. Oh no, because you want that over time. So this over time is our project status date. Our DIM project just contains this information as a static DIM project. And then our project task update is this over time. Okay, that makes sense to me. We'll have to do a different transformation to make our project status updates happen. And then milestones updates is the same as task updates, it looks like. Milestone, no. We might have to create a special milestone table, but we'll do that. So from the same source, we can get, I can get this one, and I can get this one. I'm not sure about this one. Is milestone. No client. Is there a client? There was no client associated with the project, was there? So that'd have to be a custom field in the project maybe that I haven't added. So I don't have this. I do have this. I'll leave it green. Status we have, we will have. Task we will have. Project we will have with the expected end date and the deadline date. Have we got that? I guess the latest expected end date. Oh no, what was in the expected end date here? Project finish date is there. So that is the deadline date, or does that change over time? We're not really capturing what was the original deadline date here. So that's a piece that's missing. Okay. I'm going to make that red. We've got the expected end date, but we don't have the deadline date. Employee, we've got. Status, we will have. Milestone, we're not sure about. We'll make that red. Okay, we're pretty close. So from a relatively simple, and I'll just delete this one for now. Even if I just load this, this will break all this stuff, and that's okay. Now we've got a couple of votes for dim and fact in the front of the dim and fact tables. Yeah, fair enough, fair enough. Easier for people to learn semantic models. Yeah, something that's pretty good. Staging layer allows you to connect because you can't connect here. Oh, so you think by deleting the staging layer, you might have ruined your ability to connect to the data file? That's interesting. Maybe.
Maybe, I'm not sure. Something just could be broken in mine.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay, let's have a look at our model. Hey, look, it kind of figured it out mostly. Project name. Dim project went to fact project task. Okay, no, it didn't quite figure it out, did it? Okay, dim employee goes to assign to. dim task, which is the task number, goes to task number. Oh, I wonder if task numbers are unique across projects. Bet you they're not. No, they're not. Got to fix task number. All right, well that we went close, but we're getting there. We're getting there because we know from our analysis earlier on, if we manage to build this the way exactly as it is here, it'll answer all those questions that Jordan had. So that's why I'm trying my best to. I think there's a temptation to just go, well, it's just one big project table and publish it and it'll be fine, right? But if we don't stick to the plan, then we might find ourselves in a situation where we lock ourselves out of being able to answer a particular question because we've just decided to be lazy and just throw the whole table in instead of properly modeling it. So this is the benefit of just going through this process now, so that you don't find out later that you question you're trying to answer, because we might want to join project to another model as well, right, via project or whatever, and then suddenly you find yourself in a situation where you can't answer certain questions because you've just thrown everything to a big flat table and said go, and now you need to dimensionalize it, so you're creating a headache for yourself down the track. So that's my reasoning for why I always try and star schemarize. Even flat tables, I'll try and they've only got, like you saw, with employee, right? There's only one employee in there, and so why would I make a dimension there? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense now, but when I want to fill out dim employee to be richer and have more information about employees, and I want to see projects by employee type or whatever, that starts to make sense then, right? So I'm doing good modeling now to save myself time in the future. All right, I'll show you how to transfer all this back over to Fabric now. So we do this, you'd only do this at the end, or if you're going to Fabric permanently, if you're stopping doing your transformations here in Power Query, because this is kind of a one-shot transfer. Once you do it once, you can't really do it again easily. You'd have to delete, well, you can, you delete all the queries and you redo this process, right? So you delete all the queries in Fabric and redo the process. So anything that's loads, you select. So all of your loaded tables, and then they will, or you use all the other tables. So you only need to select the things that load. So you copy all your loaded tables like that. Just right click and copy. Then you go back into Fabric. Here, here's our. We're not in the thing. Let's go to it. So go into our data flow. So here's our query. So I'm just going to delete everything out of here. Delete the whole group. Now I've got nothing in there. It's annoying that it removes this panel here because now I can't paste. So I actually will probably have to just create a blank query to have something in there. So now I've got the panel again. I can paste. Now, if I say paste like this, it'll say use Control V. I don't know. I don't know what the technical limitation is here that stops it from pasting when I select the paste button, but that paste button literally only tells you to use Control V. So, okay, so I click here and then I hit Control V on my keyboard, and then that'll paste all of my all of the loaded things and all the dependencies in. Now you'll notice that it doesn't give me the nice folder structure that it had with helper queries and all that kind of stuff. So if you like that stuff, then you miss out on that if you use this technique. But I do like using I can delete that query now because I don't need it. I do like using Power Query in desktop to do my transformations because it's a bit quicker and you can load and check errors, and I just find it a bit easier to deal with than the web version. But that's a purely personal choice. Okay, hit publish. So I've loaded a few facts and dimensions now. That will then publish the data flow and refresh the data flow, and then hopefully those facts and dimensions will be available in our lakehouse to do stuff with, plus also a semantic model to be able to query and have fun with. Kill it with Task Manager when things go wrong. Exactly, Shelley. Exactly. Okay, so it's published successfully. Doink. And then it's refreshing. I can tell it's refreshing because the little spinny circles are happening here. Waiting music. All right. So I can see pretty quickly as well from where I'm up to that I'm still got some thinking to do around how to model milestones and then how to get client into this project. I also have got a problem with deadline date, but everything else kind of is almost there. So that's where I'm at too. So if I had to give a status update on where I'm up to with my data or whatever, you can kind of use this kind of technique to show people where you're up to as well. And this data model will answer some questions. It just won't answer necessarily all of them. But you can start, you could do a little demo of haven't pass number, effort remaining. I haven't turned these into numbers yet, so we'll do that at some point. But you give them a little demo, say, oh yeah, okay, project 1 has got this much effort and all that kind of stuff. It's got 12 tasks and 17% effort remaining. This is where I'm up to in terms of being able to answer questions. And then hopefully that'll give you enough to have another week's worth of work, so people will continue on, believing in you. All right, let's have a look, see if this thing's refreshed while I was digressing there for a bit. Not yet. Refresh in progress. Let's go back to our requirements while we're looking and have a look at what we wanted to answer. So we wanted detailed reports on time spent per project, task, or client, which can help in managing workloads. So we can do detailed reports on time spent per task and per project. We just can't do per client. So we're pretty close on that one. Visualization showing the status of the ongoing projects. That should be easy enough to do with this. Milestones reached. We haven't got that yet. And bottlenecks or delays. So that's an interesting thing. We'll have to think about what that might look like. So we've done some synthesis there. And then I think we had some questions on project time management, didn't we? Project and task management, Jordan as a BI consultant might be interested in asking a variety of questions. What's the current status of all my projects? Okay, so that gives, even though it's a very simple view, what's the current status of all the projects? Well, I can select the project and I can see the status. So yep, answers that question. Are there any projects at risk of missing their deadlines? Well, that's a pretty simple calculation of just saying, well, what's the remaining effort, and then how long to go, and then doing that calculation. So I'm confident we can do that. Which projects are on track or behind schedule or ahead of schedule? So same sort of thing. And is that all we got to? Yeah. So there are our 3 project progress and health questions that we can answer with our little project model. And maybe we can start answering some of these other ones as well, like how much time is being spent on specific tasks. We can answer that one too. Is there any repetitive tasks? That's interesting. So you could do a task by task count, maybe, and repetitive tasks might come out that way. It's an interesting one. What's the current workload of each team? We can get that from each team member. We can get that from this view as well, because we're reporting across projects by assigned to. And so we should be able to see all of the tasks assigned to me. There they are. Task number 5, 6, 8, and 9, and how much effort I've done and how much is remaining. So I've got, 4 8 of whatever it is, 32. So 32 hours worth of work Greg's got assigned to him right now. So I can answer that question. So we're getting there. We can start to answer some of these questions that are coming out from our original requirements. So we should always be checking back our progress against these requirements as well, because this is what it's about. It's like they need to be able to answer these requirements. It's not about we need to be able to come up with a bunch of cool things that this data shows us. That's not the purpose of the project, right? The purpose of the project is to get for Jordan to be able to answer very specific questions. We need to keep that in mind as we're going. All right, how'd our refresh go? Looks like it was successful. Just double check the refresh history is all good. Succeeded, I'm happy. All right, let's have a look at the lakehouse. Look at our tables, refresh this view because it's probably going to need it. Hey, dim employee, dim project, dim task, fact project update, and then a blank query that I created accidentally, that I've accidentally loaded. Here's our fact project task update. Man, that's a big column. Just the one column in it. Okay, take that. Here's our dim task. Just doesn't like loading any more than one column, apparently. Oh no, there we go. The dim employee will be one column too, right? Yeah, awesome. There you go. That doesn't look right, but everything else looks pretty good. Or maybe query is the right one. So we've loaded our Excel files, we've star schemerized them using our data flow, and then we've loaded them into our Delta Lake. So that's really good. Like for Excel based manual download type workflow, that's an awesome workflow. And it's going to be interesting to see how data flows goes with scaling, how big you could go with that. But if you're dealing with Excel files, I mean, like even a crazy big Excel file is going to be a couple of 100 meg, right? So data flow should be able to handle that kind of stuff relatively well. So you might want to just use data flows for this kind of Excel workflow, and then save your Python based and Spark based stuff for more serious data loads on larger data sets. But that's kind of up to you. Well, I think we've run out of time, but we did a lot, so that was fun. We're very quickly coming into Christmas. I'm probably going to do, what's the date? Next Friday is the 1st of December. I'll probably go up to, or the 8th of December, I don't think I can do. That's our Christmas party. So I'll be here. I think next week will be the last one for the year. So we'll have a Christmas special next week, and then I'm going to go on a break for a few weeks because, yeah, you need a break from these things. So I'll try and make sure there's awesome stuff to do next week, and then we'll do all sorts of cool stuff for Christmas. And then maybe I'll even have some swag, because I do have a box of swag from Microsoft sitting next to me that I've been meaning to give away to people. And so let's do some swag and Christmas and cool things next week. But that's it. I hope you had a good time. We'll be back next week to do some more. And yeah, if you've got any questions or you've got any ideas about what we can do, then feel free to hit me up. I'd be more than happy to just play around some stuff. Well, that's the end of another Friday. You have to go back to work now. Apologies for that, but have a great weekend. We'll see you next week. And yes, and as we come into the crazy holiday season, I hope you don't overdo it. Try and don't drink anything I wouldn't drink. All right. All right. Have a great weekend. Yeah. See you next week. Cheers.
Thanks all. See ya.